Hi again, Mark with Mark's Minerals. I'm going to try to do a little bit longer of a video and piece it together, more of what I'm doing from start to finish. So when you see me, it's just my hands inside the box where I'm working behind me. And what you don't see is that I've got on a respirator, and my vision isn't the best anymore, so I have to get in there. And then, give me a second. I've got my rough to choose from. An assortment of non-sintered bits. And then an assortment of sintered bits, sanding bits, projects that I'm working on as I'm working on them. So when you see it, you're looking down into the box like this. And so I have to remind you, be careful. Make sure you're wearing a respirator, hearing protection, using lots of water. You want to watch out because this can be dangerous. And if you're not cautious and you don't stretch your hands and your eyes, you can get carpal tunnel syndrome. It's just not fun. So in order to keep it fun, make sure you're being safe. Alright, here's a little example of me cleaning up the chalcedony from the top. It's going to get a little bit loud. Using good tools, fresh blades, gentle pressure, nice, steady, even pressure, focusing on what you're doing. It's going to be your best bet. I like these particular blades because the width, the diameter isn't that thick, and so I can't go extremely deep on the chalcedony. It bottoms out when I get to a certain stage. So what I would do is I'm going to come in, take off, make some cuts like this, and then sometimes I'll make cross hatches, like you'll see where I've come in and started to cut, and then I'll take a tool, a flathead screwdriver or something, and then flake those off. See? Alright, so I'm going to continue making cuts along this. I'm going to continue to remove some of the chalcedony, and when I'm down to this clear glassy layer just above the brown, I'll be back. Alright, here's the Rubbermaid tote that I cut up and the plexiglass lid that I use. It's the same plexiglass lid I've been using for 2 years. Anytime I'm done cutting, I'll take a sponge, give it a little wipe, and then daily I'll wash it with a little bit of Dawn, get rid of the rock grease. Different stones in different stages of progress that I'm working on. Some are on dop sticks, so they just need final polishes. An assortment of different tools. I'm not dead set on any one tool. I love having VH Technologies. I mean, those Diathin and Diaflex wheels, amazing. I also love Nova Points. Those are fantastic things. But you can get away with using a bare minimum. Sandpaper is a really good tool. I use these polishes by THK Technologies, and I like those. I've been using those for a while. I've got an assortment of rough in different stages. There's some Slaughter Mountain that I've windowed and worked on, and then different sources, projects that I'm working on. Different grades, some Deer Creek, some non-sintered bits, some wooden bits, some leather bits, some gloves, some stones that are in projects, it's for dopping, some different stones that I have, orders to go out, some more rough. I've got some more rough, different stages, windowed, and I like to soak it. I'll soak it up to a month. Especially if it's got a lot of mud or overburden on it. That's one of the things that I'll do to help break down that stuff, and then I'll take it out with a dental pick and then just bust off all that mud. And we're back. Made a lot of progress in a short period of time. So one of the nodules had come free as I was cutting, and you can tell there was already a separation that was going to occur there. So that does happen. And this is going to allow me to do something that I wanted to share with you anyway, and that's windowing down to verify if you actually have color or not. So this is what I was doing again, just to run up. I'm cutting these cross hatches into the chalcedony, then I'll come in with a screwdriver to pressure flake that out. And so here's the larger piece that I've spent more time with, getting down to the bubbles and the color. So in this section you can see where it has this little lip over it, but I've tried to come down to a nice even layer, and that was all just with this tiny little diamond coated cutoff blade. These come in 10 packs and they run about $3 or $4 for a 10 pack this size. I'm going to come in later with the centered bit. This is a Varenkor centered bit, nice and coarse. This is like a 60 or 80 grit, and I'm going to just start to window down until I get to that. But I did the whole stone with this bit, with this wheel, and it wasn't brand new. And that's just because I was using light pressure. I wasn't forcing it, I was keeping it wet, and so it has dulled up some. And even with the regular diamond blade, it's not going to cut through you at a slow speed or with light pressure. But you definitely don't want to do that with full speed or more pressure. Nice, clean, good tools are going to give you your best edges. Once they start to get dull, they can become a little bit dangerous because your cuts aren't as precise. But I'm going to use this blade to the very end, or I'm going to get the most out of it. So one thing that I found I can do is gently, as long as I keep plenty of water, gently shave off small bits of that chalcedony that I've notched already. And it's almost like peeling an onion. Slowly peeling away. You can see it's started to pull more of that away. And I'm only doing this because I don't like to waste. I don't like to waste something that's useful or good. I'm going to get the last of it out. Just small, shallow cuts. That's about it. It's pretty much lost its edge. I might get a little more in, but that's as far as I'm going to go with the wheel. As to this, so that I can, so that you can see the lip where the color is actually starting to poke through, or not necessarily the color, but the definition in the bubbles is starting to poke through. Alright, I switched out the diamond cutting wheel for this Varenkor coarse bit. Alright. Again, it's going to get loud, sorry about that. Nice, even, steady cutting. In order to get even wear on my tool, I like to make sure I'm using the whole heft of that shaft. Nice, even, smooth cuts. And I'm just smoothing out any abrasions or scratches in the stone. I'm trying to bring it to a nice, consistent surface. Like so. Now, one of the things that I'm going to recommend you do is cutting the window. When I look at the stone, this piece kind of sticks off and it doesn't really belong here. It's going to stand out. It's not really going to work for what I want. So I'm going to sacrifice this section of stone. I recommend you find a cornerstone, and you have to be willing to sacrifice that portion of stone in order to see what the stone's going to yield or what its potential is. You don't want to spend 20 or 30 hours on a stone if all you're going to get is some mediocre color and you're never really getting any good definition. So, the only way to make it really worthwhile, you're going to have to window it. You're cutting down through the chalcedony into that agate layer, exposing the brown, exposing those different layers. I'm going to make sure I have a nice thick representation of that agate. And since I'm not keeping this piece anyway, I don't have any difficulty going all the way through to the bottom, bottoming out in the agate, and seeing what colors pop up. So I'm going to want to take frequent breaks as I start to see them pop up. I'm going to back off, make sure I wash off all the rock dust. I don't want it to impede what I'm seeing. I don't want to miss out on some really choice or ideal colors. Again, gentle, steady pressure. Make sure you're wearing a mask, respirator. There we go. All right. As you can see, if I can get out of that glare, there we go. Those bubbles are starting to appear. See? So, with the coarse, that's as far as I'm going to go down, to the point where it's that root beer, that golden color, when I'm right on top of it. That's as far as I'm going to go with a coarse. But since this is a sacrificial corner, I'm going to go down a little further and see if we can find any color. Again, I'm following those contours because I want to see how it's going to appear while I cut. There we go. Alright, there's some green coming through. Yellow to green. Yellow's a really good color. That's a choice color. Colors won't always deposit in the same way throughout the stone. So just because I'm finding a layer of yellow and green, that does not mean that it's going to be consistent, but it's the closest approximation you can come up with. So since I'm not salvaging this section of stone, I don't feel bad about going through it, or as bad. I'm going to continue to grind through and grind through. I want to see how it's depositing. There's a little weaker green and some more gold under there. When it disappears, there's some more yellow. There's some red, some more yellow. This is an extreme. I sped this up because of for the sake of the video. So there's a couple layers of green in there and some other colors. We're starting to near the finish line of that little lip. Let that die down a bit. Alright, so we've gone through, we've windowed the stone, we figured out what we want. Turn the water off. And I'm shooting for this. The first layer of green is probably the brightest. It occurs right in here. And you can see it follows these contours, these natural mountain-like structures, the bubbles. Let's see if we can zoom in a bit. And you can see there's more than one layer, there's multiple layers. But I'm going to focus on this bright green. So I'm going to follow this bright green and try to follow all the contours. By that I mean you see that it's got a natural wave pattern to it. I want to follow the wave, I want to follow those bubbles. But with the coarse, as I continue to go, like I said, I'm going to stop at the gold right above that. If I work down to the green, if I work till I see the green, by the time I'm done cutting and sanding, I've gone through the green and then I'm just winding up with some brown. I might find some more green, and it gets thicker through here, so that's one of the advantages of windowing or candling a stone. It's not a guarantee. It doesn't mean that back here, see how it deposits in different bubbles. This bubble might have blue and purple. It might have pink. But since, and they could have deposited at different times. Sometimes agate is going to be growing into each other, and you have to decide which layer is best and what you want to keep. Alright, so after I've brought down to the green, I'll be back. And thanks for watching Mark's Minerals videos, and I really appreciate you sticking through this long one. We'll be back. Alright, we made some progress on this Deer Creek piece so far. Let's see if we can get this into focus. We do have some really nice color popping up. We've already determined that it's got good color, that it's got a nice green layer, and I've stopped just short of that first layer of bubbles with the coarse bit. It's time to switch to a medium bit and refine it, continue to take it down to those contours. I want to stop when it's still that golden root beer before I would switch to fine. So that's about the color that I'm looking for. And there's going to be a couple different colors that show up in the stone. I wouldn't be surprised if we see some purple turn up. But I just want to give you an idea of what I'm doing. Again, we had the rough stone. We cut cross hatches into it. We started to break it down. This piece I'll set aside. I'll do that one later. And then this one, we're just going to continue to work down. It looks like it might have a nice, even, flat surface. So we should get a pretty good sized stone out of this. It's going to take a while. So I'll be back. I'll be back when I believe I'm right on top of the color layer and before we break in. Alright, I'm back. Well, it seems like this is usually where we're coming in for the rest of the videos. This is the progress that I've made on this Deer Creek Fire Agate. I've removed most of the brown. There's a couple spots where the green starts to poke through, or it's right underneath, and the chalcedony is really clear, so it's evident. Ideally, I only want to go to where it's this brown root beer with any rough or medium bits. Everything else is going to be fine from here on out. So I'm going to continue to work this, and this will be the piece that I'm going to finish. But this is where we're going to leave off for here. I don't want the video to be too long, or there's no way I'm going to be able to upload it. I really appreciate everyone who has such fantastic questions for me, and thank you very much for the feedback that you've been giving. I look forward to being able to answer more questions, so let me know when you have them. And don't forget to check us out on Facebook at Mark's Minerals, on eBay, Mark's Minerals. I'll embed a link, and also on Instagram and YouTube, obviously. This is where you're seeing me. Thank you very much. I really appreciate you for watching. I hope you have a beautiful evening, and thank you.